Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we are playing, welcome back to another video, another, oh my fucking god, what is that intro? Okay, anyways, I'm gonna do the sound clear. Welcome back to another episode of Etoh Honest Reviews, where today I'm gonna be reviewing Tower Screen Punching, the second tower ever made, at least to my knowledge. So without further ado, let's start with the tower. So, this tower, the second tower to be ever made. Oh my gosh, again for the last video, the revamp, I got kind of mad. So now this is not a tower that I hate, it's a tower that I defend. This is the second ever tower. Tower's dress classic. I was still trying to be nice, okay? But the revamp in terms of design, just having that in such a new tower. That was embarrassing. In such a new tower is just insane. Anyways, let's just talk about Tower Screen Punching, I guess. And yeah, this tower. Let's just start with the history first. This was the first ever challenging tower to be made, and the second ever tower. So basically the reason why this tower was made was because Tower of Heck, it was kind of easy. And Open2 just said, I think if they hit like 5k visits or 1000 visits, they would basically just Open2 and also, or Kitty Can, however you want to call them, basically just wanted to make another tower that's just harder than Tower of Heck. This is, I always said, like in my TOIE video, I said, this, I would like to put the first 3 towers that were ever made into a series, called the Open2 Trilogy of Heck, or whatever you want to call it. And basically, where they're just the first 3 towers ever made, and this is the second entry. This is definitely the least remembered entry into this. Even though that basically everyone, and I'm saying everyone, did this as their first challenging. Like, be honest, like, this has been in the game since 2018, and it's literally just the first half is super free. So yeah, that's it basically with the history. Oh yeah, I forgot, and I think 2024, Floor 9 got a small revamp, and basically just got completely changed. That's still something memorable about this tower, I guess. So let's just start with the reviewing. So this tower was the first ever tower to use spinners, multiple path sections, the first one to do smooth tight ropes, and have words in the tower, or at least like letters and a message, Whoa. So floor 1 starts off with that structure, which is just super iconic, and just, this thing, which is, everybody remembers this. This is just so iconic to the tower. Literally one of the most iconic parts of the entire tower. Then we get onto a possibility of 4 ways. Basically, like, there are 2 bringing you to one place, where basically just need to do all these pods, and the other one bringing you to this fast one. And yeah, doing like that, you basically also get to floor 2 like that, and just decide your path. Besides, you get to the until you get to these spinners. Of course, I did this skip there, as you can see. But yeah, I really like that concept with floor 2, where you basically just get to choose your path on floor 1 for floor 1 and 2. Then we get on to floor 3. After that, extremely hard jump, with every person just struggle with it in the first time playing this. And we get onto this wedge structure, which you can easily cheese, but these players are trying to do it legit, which, if you can do it legit, and I've also done it, I have respect for you, 2018 Etoh players will be proud of you. But yeah, after that, like, floor 3 just has some pretty simple and straightforward gameplay. But also we get that optional skill, which I also like to do always. Now we get on to floor 4. And now we get onto the part where most people just start to dislike this tower, and that is due to the traps. I don't really mind too much the traps nowadays. They're annoying, and I think that they're, especially like nowadays in 2026, they're not good gameplay. But for classic towers, like remember that Orbitoon intended traps to be one of the initials of Tower of Heck, which means that traps were basically a part of the tower definition of Etoh and basically Roblox towers. And but yeah, that walk is pretty annoying and you can struggle with it. There's some strategies though. After that we can yeah, we can do this, and then we have another more optional skip to do. But if you don't do it, you just get to this loyal sign, and you know, just to do this thing. Oh yeah, this is also the point where I wanted to give some spoiler warnings because I'm gonna talk about the secret ending of this tower. So if you don't want to, I recommend that you learn about it for yourself if you don't want to get spoiled. But yeah, watch on your own, you know, safety. Then we get on floor 4, we have these like pretty weird rope swing platforms, and then we just do the first ever trust glide in Etoh history. Then we do that walk where you just don't be paranoid, okay? It's safe. Then we get on to floor 5, which is one of my favorite floors, just because of this music. Isn't that a banger? So this part might get you a bit scared. You think like, what am I supposed to do? You might see these slightly visible blocks. Just walk. I know this is not good gameplay, but this was revolutionary for 2018. And watch out for this gap. And just climb this truss. After that, this floor again gives you multiple paths. It's a multiple path section by just doing a skip. Which, fun fact, is pretty similar to floor 4 of Tower of Heck. Just that you can skip it even more easily. These we also have these falling platforms, which is also pretty neat, I guess. You know, this floor definitely is pretty cool. I guess the beginning is pretty annoying if you're new to the game or just hate traps, but besides that, it's pretty decent. Now we get again to one of the more iconic parts about this tower. We get again a multiple path section, and yeah, trust me, this tower has a lot of these, at least in the earlier floors. And you know, we get this structure which is just ring one-y, I guess. I don't know how to describe. Then we get these wrap thingies, I guess. And then just this. Now, you might have noticed that up to this point the gameplay was nowhere near challenging gameplay. And now we get slowly to the point where the tower definitely decides to spike in difficulty. Are you guys ready? I would call the last 4 floors the 4 floors of Doom. I'm gonna pull out the music because it's copyrighted. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get into it. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I guess not. Yeah, so I don't know if that was smart. Pretty scared now. But you know, I also have this, there also exists this jump, which is pretty cool. Anyways, yeah, let's just continue. After we do this pretty simple walk, we just continue and get onto the floors on floor 6, which starts with this pretty you know, annoying jump and pretty hard too. And that just shows you that this floor and also the ones after this are gonna be pretty hard. And then we get to this one studs. Don't worry, they don't do anything. At least I think so. But yeah, these are pretty weird. This is the tweaking stud, and this one, it got no more after some time, I guess. But it was because I was not for that long of a time on it, I guess. Then we got onto this thing, which is from Tower of Rage, I guess. Not from Tower of Rage, but you know. No, then we get another, this thing here, where you can do a 12-star jump, or either just this pretty cool gameplay. When I was like new to Etoh, like grinded this tower, this was for me like revolutionary gameplay. You know, then we have this fin start thing, and then we get a small partial net, you know, just making it pretty safe. Now we get similar to floor 4 again, another trap. It's up here. You might notice it because the parts are a bit not connected. And yeah, just jump onto it. Now we get onto the first and only outside of this tower. And yeah, this isn't too bad, I guess. Like, you know, it's pretty simple. Just do this straightforward gameplay. Then we get this truss, which is kind of similar to Tower of Heck. It's the Tarfek Trust. At least that's how most people would like to call this. You know, just skip. I think in the older versions of this tower, this like the gameplay color was kind of a bit lighter. Oh yeah, I forgot one thing to say about this tower. This was the first ever tower to have a different color on the frame than with the gameplay, which is pretty important for this game's history, as you might have known. And now we get on to floor 7, which is the beginning of the devious 3 floors. Floors 7 to 9, are the last 3 floors, which means that this tower only has 9 floors, which is one of the few towers that to only have 9 floors, which is also a cool fact, I guess. But yeah, these last 3 floors are hell. They're all at least bottom challenging or harder. In my opinion, this floor is around mid to low to mid challenging, with some pretty hard parts, I guess, and floor 8 being like bottom to challenging to peak difficult, and the last floor just being high challenging. However, floor 7 starts with that trust, and then we just do this pretty hard combat gameplay, which, yeah, if you're grinding this tower, this is gonna be a lot. You're gonna have a lot of struggles with this type of gameplay. Trust me. Luckily, I've practiced this a bit and I'm a bit more used to it, but you know, this is pretty challenging. Get it because of the difficulty. Okay, then we got onto this. I like this section. I don't know, it's pretty cool always. I don't really hate this to be honest. You know, I always had a soft spot for this tower. I really always were like one of the few people that genuinely likes this. But then we get some of the most important gameplay in Etoh history. 100 stop walking. Then we get onto more floor 5 gameplay, where you can do the side jump if you're cool like me, or you can do the normal way, which is a lot harder. Then we get onto the biggest skip of this entire tower, where you basically just skip the rest of the floor of the tower. But now we get onto my favorite floor in the entirety of Etoh. Also with the best song. I don't know if Ubuntu made this song, but it just goes hard as hell. Basically, a streamer G makes Death by Glamour. Anyway, yeah, floor 7 just has that structure and some tight ropes and some raps, if you don't do the skip, of course. Then we get onto floor 8. It definitely is hard to describe, but this suddenly just turns a lot more modern for tower screen punching. You know, the first 3 towers don't really play like the first 3 towers. And there was definitely like some reversed in evolutioning, basically, like rig 2 to whoa. Oh my god, man, that was scary as shit. How did I fail that once that stick out? But yeah, this tower just has like really modern gameplay compared to like the rest of OG Ring 1 in certain aspects, of course, and like compared to like Ring 3 and 2 and even 5, this is just extremely modern, at least sometimes in Ring 5, I guess. But yeah, like, why? This feels like a lot newer than the second tower in some sections, like floor 8. Okay, you know what? Because I fell, and I do this literally in every video when I fall, like a few floors down, I'm just gonna talk about the design of the tower. You know, this tower has some decent design. It used to definitely have a lot of Z fighting, if I remember correctly. But yeah, basically this tower's not, you know, this has some decent design, I guess. Not that many misalignments I see. You know, it's quite decent, and it looks pretty good for the second tower to be ever made. You know, okay, we have Z fighting in this tower. I guess it's pretty old, so that's why why there's a ton of Z fighting fixes, because it survived to the Etoh era, the Kato era, and the Etoh era. Up to this point, of course. We don't know when this is gonna get removed or revamped. I heard there are like some people working on a revamp, but I'm not sure. Okay, I thought this was the new method skip, but apparently no. You know, this tower, like, also like the kill break usage in this tower, and like on floor 7 too. How they just use this, you know, just kill breaks to design. Also, that is kind of smooth. You know, the star definitely looks good for being the second ever one. Of course, it's debatable if looks better than Turf Heck, because I guess Turf Heck definitely has some sections which look a bit better, but also this tower has some which look a bit better. I don't know, but Origin was also pretty good. Was always pretty good with design, I guess. At least in its old towers and their old towers. Sorry, I don't know their gender, and I don't want to get cancelled. LOL. Can't see me, bro. Okay, and that was one of the least funny jokes that I remember. Why am I sweating, man? The weather in Germany is shit. Oh my god. Anyways, yeah. This Taurus is on pretty cool gameplay. You know, I also like this wall for some reason. Of course, this is also one of the more creative, like compared to Tower of Heck. Of course, Tower of Heck will get in terms of creativity a 10 out of 10, because I mean it was the first tower to be ever in the game. But I don't think that I don't really plan of making a Tower of Heck review on the next episode. I might do, but I'm not that sure. I'm probably gonna do Tower of Keyboard Eating or some random tower in Ring 2 as the ranking. But yeah, that's it. Okay, nice. You know, we're now on. I also love the music in this tower. You know, I used to really don't like Floor 6's song, but then I heard like in like a fan game a sped up version of it, and it just sounded so heavenly. Same with Floor 5's song, just that I liked it before it. Okay, we're back on Floor 8. That's good. I also have a video of me playing that tower and just loop failing Floor 9 because that floor is just so damn hard. Okay, yeah, but this is one of my favorite floors in Rig 1. I love the colors, I love the gameplay, I love the music. Like, this is a super cool part. Also, like, this was also the first instance of, like, kill break roof thing. It's hard to, like, explain, but, like, you know, in, like, some newer towers, they just, for, like, wraps, they just put kill breaks on top of it to make it look a bit better. Also, this floor is another multiple path section where you can either do, you know, this kind of trust gameplay, don't go to this conveyor, either go to this thing, or just do this simple gameplay, or just do that, I guess. But yeah, this also has a lot of skips, which definitely it's an old tower, so it makes sense that it has a lot of skips. But you know, but it's kind of fun speedrunning this, and this is like the perfect, you know, warm-up tower. You know, I think I have like a ton of wins. I haven't really played this tower since a long time. 5 wins. Okay, 10 hours spent on this is crazy. But yeah, I had a few attempts on the secret ending too. But yeah, I mostly just played this when my hardest was tower screen punching or impossible expectation, so it kind of makes sense why I have that many attempts. But now we get on to floor 9, where I again need to mute the music, even though I love this song. This floor is, you know, I don't like it, but it's really necessary for this tower, I guess. And it's again one of the most important towers, floors in Ring 1. And it definitely is in like the at least top 50, yeah, top 50 hardest floors in Ring 1. While being more like the middle spot, I guess. Since Tower of Rage has a few harder floors than this, but than floor 9. But again, this is high challenging, in my opinion at least. So I still kind of count this as a hard floor, one of the harder ones. But yeah, this floor definitely just starts off pretty simple. This section like used to be terrible with like the transparent parts at the beginning, where you basically just, they were invisible, that was it. But you know, let's just start with the beginning. Okay, I'm gonna continue with the recap. So we have just this platform thingy here from floor 8 to floor 9, and then we just start with these unclimbable one-shots, which I for some reason used to think were just challenging gameplay, just using one stud, unclimbable fin studs, which they're definitely not a skill, a gameplay carrier. They just would you use to make it a lot harder. Then we have just a lot of walking and just invisible things. At least they used to be invisible, most of them. Which I can guess, understand why people used to hate this tower. But nowadays you can't really hate it that much due to the traps being all indicated. And just, now they're not that bad. Oh yeah, now we get onto this kill break wrap thingy area, which used to give me a ton of struggles. Luckily I've been getting a bit better at wrapping recently, which means that I don't struggle too much with this. Now we get onto the infamous part of this tower, the Finstad wraps. So basically what these do, they're basically just wraps with Finstads. This is also, I think, the first ever instance of Finstads being used in a tower. Which is, insane. Because the first ever soul crushing wouldn't exist with this tower. Without this tower. I guess. I don't know. I guess like this tower did not invent Finstads, but it was the first ever one to use them. Then we just do some straightforward gameplay, and this is the first time that I actually am genuinely gonna beat. This is the first time that I beat this tyrant PC, by the way. Okay, 20 minutes is kind of long, I guess. But yeah, that's kind of insane. This is the first time that I beat a tower on camera in this series. Anyway, the video is kind of getting long, so let me just do the recap of the design. So I already talked about the design. It's pretty okay nowadays. I'm of course talking about the state that it's currently in, but I also am gonna factor in the time that this was made. So let's just continue with the creativity. This tower really has a lot of creative aspects. The first one to be using Finstads, alternate pathing, like multiple path sections, I mean with that, smooth tight ropes, and most importantly, spinners. Now imagine towers didn't have spinners. Also, this was the first ever one to use different geometrical, here, what is it called? Different geometrical shapes. Yeah, shapes. Okay, I thought Stormbrew was in this game because the avatar looked kind of similar to his. But But anyway, so yeah, this was just a super creative tower for its time, of course. It's just definitely the least creative tower in the Oberyn 2 trilogy, but this is just because, I mean, Tower Effect was the first ever tower. You immediately just have to give it a 10 out of 10 in terms of creativity. And Tower of Possible Expectations just introduced so many client objects and gameplay mechanics. It's just important to ignore. But this one will be quite close to it. But anyways, just start with the gameplay. The gameplay, counting the current state of it without the traps, is really fun, to be honest. Like, I really like this tower's gameplay. It always was one of my favorite towers in this area. Even though that I'm trying to put away a bit of the bias, so I'm just gonna give this a 6 out of 10 in terms of gameplay. Next up, we're gonna have design. This tower definitely has okay design compared to the rest of the towers in Ring 1. Besides, of course, Source Stress, because this tower doesn't have that many misalignments. But yeah, I would give this tower just a 5 out of 10 in design. No kids, just mid. Not too special. And now we get on to creativity, where I will give this a 7 out of 10. Because, I mean, it was the first tower to use a lot of things, and spinners, which are some of the most important things in Etoh in terms of client objects. Of course, Tower of Rage used the ones that's more used, but again, these were the beginning. And also, without wedges, Etoh would be different. Oh yeah, this was also the first ever tower to use bolts that impact gameplay. Because, I mean, there are bots on floor 1 of Tower Screen Punching, of course, and in Tower Effect, but yeah, they're not important for gameplay. But the one on, like, floor 7 is actually kind of important. I think this tower doesn't use any cylinders, right? Yeah. Then Tower of Rage was the first one. No, Tower of Impossible Expectations was the first one to use cylinders, I guess. But yeah, this is a pretty important tower. So that's why I gave creativity a 7 out of 10. So which means that we have an 18 out of wait. I gave the gameplay 6, so 11. Yeah, 18 out of 30, which is not too bad, I guess. This is still the second last place below Turf Glitching and Healing, but it's not that far away. And I mean, between this and the gap of Turf Stress, this is 11 points. Turf Stress is 11 points behind Turf Screen Punching, which makes it kind of insane. So yeah, that was it with Etoh Honest Reviews episode 4, Tower Screen Punching. And yeah, some side notes that I wanted to give about this tower is that I really enjoyed it, and my grind was pretty memorable, I guess. I also just love this song on floor 8, and that's also why you know what, I'm gonna put the design onto a 6 out of 10. So this is a 19 out of 30 for the final results. Why? Because of the music. The music is just so good. Like floor 2's music, floor 2's and 4's are okay. The rest is peak. Floor 6 is mid, unless you sped up, then it's good. But the rest of the songs are just chef kiss. Just some of the best songs in the entirety of Ring 1. Tower Screen Punching is definitely my most favorite Etoh OST of all time. One of my favorite. Whoa. I almost fell for the trap. So a 19 out of 30, which is not too bad. Basically almost a pass. Okay, yeah, that jump is kind of bad. Anyways, yeah, that's it with this video. Let's see you next time, and next episode we're gonna review... let me see what towers are there. I want to do Deep Darkness. By the way, I have experience with basically every single one of these towers. But I think we're gonna do Tower of... Man, you know what? I'm gonna continue with Ring 1 and just do Tower of Keyboard E2. So yeah, without further ado, let's just continue. Let's just end this video, and just the leaderboards are right now Tower Stress on the last place, Tower Screen Punching right after it. Then on second place we have Tower of Glitching and Healing, and on place 1 again Tower of Impossible Expectations. Basically, no tower change of position because of this addition to the list, which is kind of funny. But that's it with this video. See you next time, and bye. Erbis is out.